I had this dream. I woke up in my dream and I could hear children laughing and talking, and they were like shouting with joy. And I walked out of my bedroom to the backyard, and the children were tossing big blobs of like lava, like balls. They were just throwing this lava. There's mountains, and they're behind us, the Santa Ana Mountains. There was a warrior. And one mountain was one shoulder, the other mountain was the other shoulder. His head was here, and all the lava was coming out of this part, what they call the third eye, that was like raining on the children. Around that, in front of him in the mountains, was a big lake of water, and there was these boats. I'd never seen these boats before, never seen them. They were wood, they were simple. As I moved closer, I could feel the water, I could feel the wood. And our people started to occupy all these hundreds of boats. And suddenly I'm telling everybody, paddle, do this, pukushe, pukushe, one more time, one more time. And when everybody was paddling and singing in complete synchronicity, the warrior opens his eyes, the lava stops, the mountains part, and we're paddling out to Catalina Island, to the islands of Pimu.
Shumawi, Atipa, Shumawi, Shumawi, Atipa, Shumawi, Shumawi, Atipa, Shumawi. Shumawish, Atipa, Shumawish.
Momarihiko is about 26 years old. When she was born, because we do consider her to be a living being, she brought people together. She becomes a visual symbol of the spirit of our culture. She becomes a strength in rebuilding that cultural confidence that we can bring back things that are very important to us, that we haven't lost everything completely. My name is Cindy Alvitre. I am affiliated with the Gabrielino Tongva tribe, which are the Aboriginal people of Southern California, including Los Angeles County, Orange County, and the 4 Southern Channel Islands. I presently am the director of the Tiat Society, which is our canoe society, our maritime community. The Momarihiko, Breath of the Ocean, it was the boat that was in my dreams. I'd never seen these boats before, and you know, you have a dream like that. Is it a dream? Is it a vision? What is this? 2 weeks later, this man calls me, and his name was Jim Noyes. And he says, hello, my name is Jim Noyes, and I have an organization called the Indigenous Peoples Maritime Association. And he says, do you know what a tiat is? And I said, well, kind of. And he described it. It was the dream boat. It was the boat that was in my dreams. And he continued to talk, and he says, well, I'm very interested in these boats, and are you interested in building one? Wasn't a dream. Perhaps it was a vision. In 1769, the Spanish come to California with their goals of gold and conversion to Christianity. It impacted the people significantly with drastic losses, 80% and above. Beyond that, when the Americans come, it continues.
Here in Southern California, after the Spanish, we became pretty splintered. So cultural identity is not as strong as it would be in other places. I mean, and particularly for the Tongva people. We're in Los Angeles, we're in Orange County. We are in the most beautiful sought after real estate, you know, in the country, if not the world. So after the Spanish, I think we kind of became integrated, we became part of whatever culture was here. And for a while, you know, it was frowned upon to be native in Southern California. So people would just call themselves Mexican or call themselves Spanish or Caucasian, you know, just to avoid the stigma of being native.
When the Spanish came here, their intention was to eliminate the culture of the indigenous people. So that means you wipe out all their most precious cultural practices. Transportation means you can take those boats and go to the island. So at some point that tradition ceases. We've lost everything. Like I said, we have no land. Our language is just hanging on by a thread. It's amazing that we've been able to revive what we do have, and especially with what we're talking about today with Momarahiko, our traditional sewn plank canoe, which that culture, that traditional practice was gone. It isn't until the early 1920s with the Chumash tribe, which are north of us, and there was a man in their tribe, his name was Fernando Librado, or his Chumash name was Kiptisawit. He was born on Santa Cruz Island, and he came from a family of canoe builders. John Peabody Harrington, an anthropologist in the 1920s, was recording what was considered to be, you know, the dying cultures of California, and he interviewed Kiptisawit. He told them about these canoes, and they decided they were going to build one based on his memory. He was an old man. So they created one, and there's photographs of this, and this boat is actually at the Santa Barbara Natural History Museum.
In 1976, the tomol, the halleck, the peregrine falcon in English, was the first tomol to be built in recent times. And the tomol was transported to San Miguel Island. From there, a Chumash crew, the modern Brotherhood of the Tomol, paddled to Santa Rosa Island, and that following day to Santa Cruz Island, we call Limu. On her way, she met head-on with storms and currents. The crossing was canceled due to the weather. They were the first to become many crossings of the Chumash community and its supporters.
The Chumash Maritime Association was birthed in 1997. It was a nonprofit organization that was created to receive our community's first canoe, which was the Elietwun, the swordfish in Chumash. It was funded and supported by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Organization, you know, the federal government. And in order to receive that, we had to create a nonprofit organization. That happened in '97. When she was birthed, she's been our community's first canoe that has brought us together as ocean people.
Our elders say we've been here 30,000 years. From the islands, the origin of our people, a canoe people, a tomol. We traveled the ocean and the coast. We traded. And our creation story, we talk about our rainbow bridge. When the island was getting smaller and the resources were dwindling down. Hutash, our earth goddess, our Mother Earth, said to the people, go over this bridge and you'll find the main land where there's abundance of food and land for the generations to be born. So the people went over and they were warned not to look down because they would fall from this beautiful rainbow and they would die if they hit the ocean below. But the temptation of the water glistening, calling them, how beautiful, like a dream. They got dizzy and fell. And they hit the ocean and they started to sink. And Hutash cries out to the Creator, Kakunamahwe, save our people. Don't let them die. He looked at them. Before they hit the ocean floor, their hands came together and their feet, and they came up and they had turned into dolphins. Alulkoy, our brothers and sisters, our relatives of the ocean. When we travel in our canoes, our tomol, the dolphins join us. We're a dolphin nation. This is our home.
This particular promontory, this site, has a really ancient history. All of these areas are traditional village sites. Wherever you have fresh water, wherever you have food sources, Tongva Gabrielino people lived everywhere, so all over the basin, no matter where you'd look. When Cabrillo came here, he called this the Bay of Smokes because every village saw his ship and they started lighting fires, signal fires. So the title of this is Earth Upon Water because there's about 3 feet of earth and it's on top of this huge reservoir that's underneath. There's 3 stories that we're telling here. One references the Native American past and present. The other references the oil history, and the other the agrarian history. We wanted to make reference to the different people that have come over time to Long Beach and the different meanings and histories that have happened here in Long Beach. In the top of that is a mist that comes out, and that mist refers to both the water when they drilled for water here in Long Beach, but it also refers to the Gabrielino Tongva tiat that was made in the 1990s, and that's the Momatahiko, the breath of the ocean. When we were making this project 20 years ago, a lot of these ideas, these histories really were not told. I think this is the first project that actually mentions the Momatahiko in a public way. But now there's a lot more visibility, and there's a street in Santa Monica and it's named Momatahiko. So there's been some visibility. You're always in a process because there's these histories that are suppressed and then they become revealed, and there's more and more coming out again and again about the history of California.
It's a very difficult challenge to be indigenous in a place like Los Angeles, one of the world's wealthiest areas. It's as if we're invisible. I'm sitting in the center of our sacred site, the original village site called Puvungna. This is part of the California State University. Puvungna means metaphorically place of the gathering, which is our sacred center of the Gabrielino Tongva people. Within the Gabrielino Tongva tribe, we don't have like one tribe, one community. We're multiple communities, and because of colonization, there's been a lot of trauma to the people, a lot of trauma. People are displaced, they've been separated. If we had to live as a community, we wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't all get along. To me, it's an expression and a symptom of intergenerational unresolved historical grief. But the one entity, the one spirit nobody talks bad about is Momatahiko. Nobody talks bad about her. They all love her. Nobody. I wanted to introduce members of Tiat Society, and there's Craig, Heidi, Sam, and Larry. So back in the late 80s, after the dream, which I had already shared, people started coming together. When we were building the Tiat in the backyard in Santa Barbara, people started to come from different communities. My father was there, people from our community located over in San Gabriel Mission. And eventually, over time, people have just started to be attracted and to become more involved with the Tiat.
Everyone seemed really passionate about bringing something back to life. I mean, this is something that has been gone. No one knows what it looks like. You can't imagine it till you see it. So it was really an amazing process watching it come together until finally, when we had this, it was dried, it was cured, everything was together.
It was just an amazing process. The whole wood process too, because this is part of the culture that we lose contact with. The way that they built these boats is the redwood trees of Northern California, when they fell and washed into the ocean, they come south. So you'd get these logs, humongous logs that were now well seasoned by the salt water, and the people would take them and they would plank them out so that you got one complete plank that contained the entire grain of the wood. It was not broken. That keeps the strength and the resilience of these planks, because these boats, they're curved, so the planks would have to be steamed into that position, and then they're sewn together. So the other part of this is you're using fibers that come from natural material, from trees, maybe the inner bark of a tree, or a yucca or dogbane, these types of things. You make the cordage, and it takes about a mile of cordage to sew one. All the holes have to be filled in and the cracks are sealed in with asphaltum or tar. And this is how they made these boats. When we constructed her, this isn't built traditionally, that's the other thing. We have to correct them. We started to replace the nylon rope with natural lashings. It took us 2 years to do conservation. We were very fortunate that the Department of Engineering provided us a space here. We went in, sealed up a lot of the cracks. We had to add other things too, because that bottom, the bottom of the Tiat becomes very fragile, and even having to add like fiberglass on the inside and on the outside to preserve her. But aesthetically, the visuals, we try and maintain the cultural integrity of the boat. It's a beautiful, beautiful boat. She has the abalone inlay that is, I call it a rattlesnake design, which is actually a sign of fertility. So you can see how a beautiful wood tradition begins in the revitalization, breathing life back into this tradition. You go through the process, you reunite with these traditions, understanding and having a relationship, a renewed relationship with the wood, with the fibers, with the tar, with the ocean, that relationship. After we revive this tradition, you begin to use these boats. I mean, practical, commonsensical application. You get in the ocean, people begin to paddle. It's when we had our first Tiat festival in Avalon on Catalina Island. Everybody came. It was beautiful. And they were just so proud because she becomes a visual. Everybody was just so much in love with the Tiat and they were happy. That's what she brings, just a lot of joy. So every time we get together, we do crazy things and have a good time. This is the first time the Tongva Tiat and the Chumash tomol had actually come together. So it's a revitalization of two different communities with their maritime culture.
The experience that I had in my very first channel crossing was very difficult. When we cross the channel, we leave at a Channel Islands harbor in Oxnard at 3 o'clock in the morning. So the first leg of the channel crossing is in the night. There was significant bioluminescence in the water that morning. It looks like a fluorescent green in the water. So everything that moved in the water was like a ghost through the water. And the paddles would pull through the water, and as they would travel through the water, it would leave a trail of fluorescent green behind them. It was a phenomenal experience.
Timalo King New, Timalo King New, Timalo King New, Timalo King New. Sukinanik oi, Sukinanik oi, Sukinanik oi, Sukinanik oi. Timalo King New, Timalo King New, Timalo King New, Timalo King New. Sukinanik oi, Sukinanik oi, Sukinanik oi, Sukinanik oi. Sukinanik oi. Ki antikich, ki antikich, ki antikich. Timalokin means to talk about the old ways. The word new means to sing or to dance. It means both. So we say that it says, talk about the old ways, sing and dance. Sukinanik oi means to bring it back to life. We're talking about the old ways, singing and dancing, and we're bringing them back to life. And at the end we say, ki antikich, ki antikich, ki antikich. We are alive, we are alive, we are alive.
When they did the first crossing in the channel, The very first one, after over 150 years, everyone in our community was very strongly uplifted, joyful, thankful that we were in the water again and doing this again. This is at the center of our culture, the maritime part of our culture. Very emotional. Lots of tears of joy were shared when we witnessed the tomol coming in for the landing. For the first time, the community was uplifted with voice. We were singing our songs, gathering songs and welcoming songs. And when we brought her on shore, carried it up onto land, we put her onto the ground, onto the island. Very powerful, symbolically, that we were back, that we were strong again. We were going to continue on this journey of revival.
At the time, when I was 8, I was just kind of like having fun, you know, because I was a little kid. So I was just like, woo, this is cool. We get to be in the ocean. Ooh, look, the tomol's coming. Woo, all excited. And like, it was so beautiful to be with family. And it felt like we were going back to how it was.
I've been going over it ever since the first crossing. And to me, it was very exciting to think, oh, this is the first time that the people have been able to go from the mainland over. And it's just, that moment of seeing them was unforgettable. To be able to see that that was a real thing and to bring that back was very important. While we're there, there's times for stories, there's times for language training, there's all sorts of crafts, there's passing on family history, and it's just this incredible time for the community to be together. Each of the tomols was very much community building. And with the CMA, we're here to do a job, and we're going to honor the maritime way of life. And so every time we've worked on a tomol and built a tomol, it's very much brought the communities together.
The goal of the Chumash Maritime Association is to educate not only our Chumash community on our maritime traditions, but also the community at large where we live, so that they can understand that we are still here and we still continue our traditions today.
I know one of the things we love the most is to watch our paddlers paddle these canoes across the ocean to the island. That is exciting annually. That happens, and these cultural things that happen annually are extremely important, very enriching to their life as well as ours.
Our experiences in the channel crossing these days has been everything. We've experienced it pretty much all. We have to be considerate, we have to be humble, we have to be thoughtful, we have to be inclusive. It's a must in order to have success. And success isn't measured by the shortest time. Success is measured by, maintaining that love criteria, that safety criteria, so that we can paddle in a good way, so that when we get to the island, we walk in a good way.
There's definitely a bond with certain paddlers that you paddle with. When you're paddling with them, you can tell, you can stay in sync with them. You can just feel it. You feel their energy.
This individual described a tomol was a flower on the surface of the water. I look at it in the sense of the tomol is like our own skeletons and our own bodies in our journey in life as we pull and push, and the contradictions of life and the flows of life and how we travel through it.
Momarahiko pararahamino, Momarahiko pararahamino, pararahamino, pararahamin, pararahamino, pararahamin.
The ocean wind, she moves through the water. She moves through the water as we paddle to the island, as we paddle to the island. She moves through the water. She moves through the water. And we paddle
and we paddle, and we paddle, and we paddle.
Mamarahiko, what she's represented to me is like this vessel for our community. When we do ceremony, we put all our joys, all our anguish, all our frustrations into her, and she kind of takes it out for us.
I think it gave us a focus, to focus on something that doesn't have anything to do with casinos or land or anything. It was this redwood ship that we put together with our hands, and then it gave us the ability to look to the future and look to the past.
She's like a root that she's pulled us down, settled us back down into where we're at. It was like planting a seed, but the seed has this root that immediately came out, and we're able to start to reflourish.
I've lived here all my life, near the ocean somewhere in Southern Cal, and there's no place, as they say, no place like home, in a connection to this beautiful ocean that's behind me. He's coming. He's anakipnas. He's coming. He's sipsiyiwin. The ocean is beautiful. The ocean sparkles. And that's, I'm very connected to the ocean and the maritime culture now. Chaya, chaya, iwamolo. Chaya, chaya, iwamolo. Tse-tse-tse-o, lepalisal-o. Tse-tse-tse-o, lepalisal-o. Chaya, chaya, iwamolo. Chaya, chaya, iwamolo. Tse-tse-tse-o, lepalisal-o.